Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of the internet. Happy Thursday, May 15th. Coach Kyle Evans, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Maps Coach, Bold Coach, all the things. Getting to come to you from the Bowl Room today in Houston, Texas. They've got these cool little work pads, things, whatever you call them. And I get to come hang out with you guys before I go pour into, 60 of our best friends and talk to them about changing their mindset, changing their business on things that they can work on and grow into. Before that, though, we have the opportunity to hang out together. Before I get into my show, something poignant just happened to me. I'm sitting here, right, preparing, collecting my thoughts, setting up the streams. And, I'm in this big office building and they're doing some work. Some guys are out there doing some work on what I assume is some sort of alarm or fire system or something of that sort. And they're working and I'm setting up for the show and just a long beat goes. And it was just a long, steady, straight beat. In my mind, immediately went to, this is what a flat line sounds like. And so I started off today, or I guess right now, with this just internal dialogue of what if that sound is for you today? What if that sound is for you today? Would you do things differently? Would your energy be different? Would your mood be different? Would your attitude be different? If you knew today you were going to hear the flatline sound of your heart stopping, would you make a call to somebody that you've been putting off? Would you make a statement that you've been meaning to make? Would you change your attitude? If you knew you had 24 hours left, would you play as small as you were going to today? Now, I know that's a drastic example, and yet it's just how my mind works. And after I heard that, I immediately did the self-diagnosis, right? Hey, is that for me? Then I went to, how was I going to show up today? Now, naturally, a lot of you know me. I show up with energy. I show up with gratitude and excitement. And I'm showing up with more. Because after I understood that it was just a fire alarm and not my own flatline, I realized the truth in the gift that we all get today. We got breath in our lungs. We got a beat in our heart right now. What are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? How are we going to tackle the next 24 hours? Like the gift that it is in the present moment, in the feeling and the chance that we have, guys, whether it's to go out and tackle the realm of business, whether it's to go do the hard thing that you've been putting off, whether it's to go heal or mend a relationship that you've been putting off. Maybe you owe somebody forgiveness. Maybe you owe yourself forgiveness. Tomorrow's not promised, and the fact that you're on here watching today means that at least you got right now. So let's go out there and get it. That's my quick message to you this morning. Sorry for the sidebar, but it's just living in my head rent-free right now. So back to our series, man, Commanding the Room, that we've been diving into this week. 2 days ago, we talked about energy and how that's the first thing that people see. Yesterday, we talked about certainty. What is our confidence level? Today, I want to tell you this. Stop shrinking to fit the room. Stop shrinking to fit the room. You weren't called to be agreeable. You were called to be impactful. You were not called to be agreeable. You were called to be impactful, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start with a line I need you to carry with you. You weren't made to shrink. You were made to shift the space around you. But most people, especially high achievers, shrink to make other people feel more comfortable. Been there, done that. Sometimes I still do it. We soften our posture, right? Maybe we tone it down. We lower our tonality. We lower our energy to make other people feel safe. They bite their tongue, right? We don't do this out of wisdom. More often than not, we do it out of fear. So today I want to call that out. I want to break that pattern, not just for today, not just for the next 24 hours, but literally for good. I think the reason that a lot of us shrink, sometimes it's not that we're unsure of our value, which don't worry, sometimes that is the case. Sometimes it's we're unsure of how our value will be received. You see, it's not necessarily all the time that we have a low internal representation of ourselves. Sometimes we have a low representation in our mind of what people will think because we want to be liked. We do. Humans are cultural creatures. We're tribal creatures. We crave connection. At our base layer, our foundation, we want to be liked. And because of that, sometimes we fear making other people uncomfortable. We're addicted to approval instead of aligned with our assignment. Put that on a t-shirt. We're addicted to approval instead of aligned with our assignment. If your goal is to be liked, you'll rarely be respected. That was a tough lesson I had to learn, especially in this business, right? Coaching, speaking, podcasting. My goal, right? I want to be liked. I want people to enjoy the things I have to say. I want them to want to be around. And if I was constantly criticizing and changing my message just to please everybody, would I have a message at all? You know, I was told this a long time ago, and, you know, love it or leave it. If you don't have anyone um, rooting against you, if you don't have anyone who doesn't like you, if you don't have anyone who hates you, who doesn't agree with you, you're probably not doing it right. Your job, your goal in life is not to blend in. It's to bring what the room needs, even if it's disruptive, even if it's bold, ladies and gentlemen. If our goal is to serve with truth, eventually, not right away always, but eventually, we will be respected. We will be liked. But it takes time and it takes courage to serve with truth. I found this out the hard way. I was, at a leadership mastermind one day. And, big players, big names. I'm small fish, big pond, right? Definitely not the coolest or richest or whatever guy in the room, not even halfway. And I had a truth, man. I had an insight. I had something that was standing out to me. And it wasn't what everyone was saying. It was like a Kyleism, a good throat punch, a good razzle dazzle. And I didn't say it. I didn't say it. Why? Because I didn't want to sound too intense, too different, too direct, maybe like I have ego. So I stayed quiet. I shrunk. But the universe, God, has a funny way of winking, right? Because someone else said it like 10 minutes later. And when they said it, it shifted the entire conversation in that direction in a great way. That moment taught me one thing: playing small to fit in, it will always cost you more than standing tall and being misread. It'll always cost you more than standing tall and having regret. One version feels less awkward, playing small, right? The other truth of that coin is that version can also feel like regret. You were meant to shift the space around you. It's time that we stop shrinking and start showing up. So before you even walk in these rooms, right, we've talked about it this week. Something to think about, something to consider, something to wrap your mind around is, what does the room need that I bring? What does this room need that I internally bring to the table? Who in this room needs permission to be bold? Who in this room needs permission to be bold? We're not there to observe all the time, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes we're there to impact. There are more people who are watching you and moved by you than you give yourself credit for. I will die on that hill every time. I will fight to prove that right to you, because whether you notice it or not, people are watching you, and it matters how you're showing up. It matters what you're saying. It matters the energy that you're bringing. Your kids, your community, your colleagues, your spouse, your loved ones, people are watching you. Even acquaintances on Facebook, social media, they're watching you. Some of them are seeking permission to be their own selves, but they lack the courage to do it first. And they're hoping and they're praying that you show up authentically and break the mold and do different than what everyone is programmed to do, because that gives them permission to let their own light shine. People are watching you, ladies and gentlemen. Whew, check my blood pressure. We're not here to just observe. We're here to impact. Another thing that I want you to take away from this is sometimes, this is going to sound funny from a speaker, but buckle up. Speak before you're ready. Speak before you're ready. Don't wait for the perfect line. Don't wait for the perfect moment. There isn't one. There isn't one. Speak up early. Speak up often. Well, not too often, right? You know, those people are like, God, we get it, Kyle. Shut up. Speak up early. Here's why. Confidence compounds. We talked yesterday about the confidence competence loop. Following that, it compounds. If you wait until you feel safe, you'll rarely speak from your edge. You know, I was telling the room yesterday, my daughter graduated preschool and she had a speaking part, right? She was one of the only people with a speaking part. And it was like a sentence, right? But she's 5. And there was, I don't know, a couple hundred people there in this chapel, in this cathedral. And, you know, before we're talking to her about it, and she was like, I'm nervous. I'm scared. I was like, don't be. You've got something to say. And they chose you for a reason. Whew. They chose you for a reason. You're not an accident. Ladies and gentlemen, you're supposed to be here. If you wait until you feel safe to start being you, maybe you won't. And what a terrible thing that would be. Whenever you start to get those thoughts, I want you to interrupt that internal shrinking. That podcast in your mind, those thoughts may sound something like this. Tone it down, Kyle. Hey, you know what? Stay agreeable. Don't rock the boat, right? Don't want to overstep here. Flip it. Say the room doesn't need safety today. The room needs strength. The room needs honesty. It needs truth. I find more often than not when I'm speaking and I'm saying controversial things, or just things, I'm saying what we call the inside words outside. People are craving actual truth and authenticity today more than ever. Be that voice. Lead with value, not necessarily volume. You don't have to dominate the conversation. You don't have to dominate the room, but you do need to be decisive. You do need to say it clear, say it with weight, say it with authority. Presence isn't about taking over. It's about refusing to disappear, ladies and gentlemen. It's not about dominating. It's not about controlling. It's not about taking over. It's about refusing to diminish. It's saying that I will stand up and I will be counted, and I have something to say. And what I have to say matters, and I will not let your uncomfort dictate how I live my life and the truth that I'm supposed to say. Here's your challenge for today. Tying a bow on this before I go get started. Can you identify maybe one environment, one place this week where Maybe you shrink. Maybe you don't say the thing that you know you're supposed to say. Maybe it's a team meeting. Heck, dude, maybe it's with a client. Maybe it's on a consultation. Maybe it's inside the home. Maybe it's with a key relationship. Identify that one place that you tend to shrink. And then I want you to decide with one statement, just one, you will lead with, not to impress, but to impact. What have I not been saying that I should? Let's not say that. That's a weak statement. Apologies. If we should do this and we should do that, we'll end up with a shouldy life. What's one statement that I must say that I haven't been saying? In this environment, where have I been shrinking that I need to not? No more shrinking. Your statement of fact is, I was built for this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of the internet, the world doesn't need another agreeable professional. It doesn't need another agreeable agent. It doesn't need another agreeable consultant, another agreeable coach, another agreeable speaker. It needs someone who brings truth. It needs someone who brings energy. It needs someone who brings spark. Don't let politeness become your prison. I said what I said. I'm sure I'll get an email about that. Whatever. Don't care. I refuse to shrink. That don't live here no mo. Don't let politeness become your prison. Don't let likability rob you of your legacy. Show up like you're called to shift the room, not fit the room. Here's the reason: because you are called to shift the room. Lead, speak, stand. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I'm fired up. I trust that you are too. I'm ready to tackle this Thursday, change some lives, man. Give where you live, wherever you are. Don't shrink today. Stand, speak, be counted, shift the room. Coach Kyle Evans, go have a good one.